Well, I guess I'm a masterpiece collector now. From Maketoys and their Remaster EX line, this was the MTRM EX13 Lightning, the third-party masterpiece version of Thundercracker as made by Maketoys. Now, there's quite a few Masterpiece Thundercrackers out there. Hasbro and Takara have had a couple of attempts at this point. There was also the Deformation Space one, which is probably the most cartoon accurate. Out of every Masterpiece Seeker body, this is the one that always appealed to me the most, because it's kind of toy, kind of animated, and not a complete total mess like the original Masterpiece Seeker. Plus, I like the blue of Thundercracker. So, Lightning here was more than up my alley, and seeing as how he was only $100 on Big Bad Toy Store, yeah, I kind of had to go for that sell. Here on the side, you can see it's just him faded in with all this text. On the back, you can see a couple of the gimmicks. He's going to have a couple of faces, some good articulation, jet mode, robot mode, yada yada yada. Same thing on the here, but now it's a jet instead of the robot mode. Here on the top, it's just him. Look at that, he's hanging out. And then here on the bottom, it's just a lot of legal stuff. Cool. So, I don't know if I like this body, because I've never played with this body, right? But I guess I better make an opinion quick, because I bought three. I bought three of the Maketoys Masterpiece Seekers, because I got Skywarp and Slipstream in my storage closet. Alright, let's open them up. Here is how Thundercracker comes packaged in the box, in robot mode with all the accessories kind of spread out. You can see we got laser blasts, alternate heads, a flight stand behind him it looks like. I will say it kind of commits one of my cardinal sins for especially a high-end Transformer. I am very much of the opinion that you should always get vehicle mode in package, but quite frankly, the jet mode is probably pretty long on this guy, so this might have actually been the most practical thing to do for the Seekers. In any case, let's get him out of his plastic prison. When you get this guy out of the box, there's a couple things to take note of. 1, the arms and legs do extend, so you have to fully fold them out. 2, you got to put on the null rays. And 3, the wings are actually not attached to the tab. They should be in the back. They hang loose. I actually thought I had a bit of a bum copy, but then I realized, nope, they just weren't tabbed in. Once they're in, though, the wings do stay pretty well. Alongside that, I was kind of taken aback by the head. I was like, that doesn't look like the head I saw in the pictures, man. It looks a bit too big. A little bit like this is Caveman Thundercracker. We'll get into that. Just know, this guy actually came with a lot more accessories than I would have thought he would. In all honesty, my first thoughts on the figure are on just how gorgeous it is. It's painted so well. There's so much die-cast metal to be found here. The proportions, to my eye, are solid. It looks just like how I would want a modern Seeker to look. A little bit of cartoon, a little bit of toy, just a bit of IDW streamlining throughout the entire body. It's a great-looking Seeker. And I like it, really, because it's not just trying to do the cartoon. The big failing with the modern Masterpiece Official, as well as the Deformation Space Seekers, for me at least, is that those guys were just the Sunbow looks. I like the Sunbow Thundercracker, but that's a lot more just because it's Thundercracker than the fact that I think it's a good design. Here, there's enough technical detail, enough mechanical detail to feel a little bit modern. It's kind of what we saw out of the original incarnation of Masterpiece, when we were getting things like Prowl, Sideswipe, MP10. The fact that it's supposed to be a marriage of the original two aesthetics, toy and cartoon, coming together to give you an ultimate version. I like that. I like that a lot. It's my preferred aesthetic for Masterpiece. It's my preferred aesthetic for G1 redone. So, all that gushing out of the way, we can now look at the technical side of things, because on presentation, this Seeker is already winning with me. In terms of articulation, you have a ball joint at the head. It is somewhat stiff, but you can get a lot of range of motion out of it. You can see a little bit of side to side there, a little bit of confused look. Yay. I will tell you, there's a flap right behind the head. Be careful not to grab that. Here in the arm, you have a universal on the shoulder. Again, very stiff, which is what you'd want on a figure like this. It needs to support a lot of weight. I was a bit surprised to realize there's no side-to-side action in the arm, no forearm cut, but there is a double-jointed elbow. And then we get down to the hand, right? Nothing in the wrist, but then look at these fingers. Hinge at the thumb, hinge at the mid-joint of the thumb, and then here for the actual fingers, they can't slide out anymore, but there's a ball joint at the base, a ball joint at the knuckle, and a ball joint at the other knuckle. So basically,
the points of articulation your actual hand has, his hand has. So you can do a couple of things. You can, of course, give him like a pointing hand, and he's like, boom, over there. Or if you're a child like me, you can always, you know, there we go. That's what a mature adult would do with their toys, right? Okay. So, nothing in the waist. Oh, never mind. There is a waist joint here, a waist swivel. That's pretty solid. Is there an ab crunch? There is a bit of an ab crunch back, but that's mostly a transformation joint. Okay. Also, this pelvic flap does go up and down to get out of the way so that you can better articulate it. Let me see if I push it down. Yeah, okay, there is an ab crunch forward. You just have to push the pelvis down. Cool. Then you have a universal at the hip. And, wait. It's having a hard time going forward, this one. I'm hitting the armor. Okay, so you got to move the armor out of the way. And it's ratcheted. Awesome. And you can go out, like I said. You have a good single jointed knee, but it gives you the 90. And then down here at the foot, not much of anything really. So it's not the most articulated Seeker we've ever seen, but you get enough points to work with. There's also some articulation here in the wings. They're on hinges, so you can get them back and forth. And if you want to untab them, you can fold them down. Overall, though, a good range for a Seeker. I'll be honest, there was more points of articulation here than I would have thought. Keep in mind, I'm not a big Masterpiece person, but here he is alongside the official Masterpiece Soundwave and MP01, the original Masterpiece Optimus Prime. Obviously, Optimus Prime is way out of scale here. Does not work at all. As for Soundwave, and a modern Soundwave collection, though, a modern Masterpiece collection, I should say, I think that works a lot. In my head, Starscream and Soundwave would be about even height, or Soundwave would be looking down on the Seekers. I think this works here, because as you can see, with this new head, they would be the same height, but with the classic head that we'll show in a minute, he would be just ever so slightly shorter than Soundwave. Overall, I think that's a good scale, at least from the official Masterpiece selection I have. Here he is alongside the Fans Project Masterpiece RID 2001 Scourge. It works perfectly. I love this scale. I think it is absolutely what I'd want out of an Optimus type body compared to a Seeker. In all honesty, Scourge looks good alongside Thundercracker. I might keep them together on a shelf. Here he is alongside the Mastermind Creations Lunikite and the prototype Azalea. Again, I think this works really well. RC should be a lot smaller than the Seekers, and then I like the fact that Lunikite here, the Heiress, is a little bit taller, but still noticeably a head shorter than the Seeker body. And then here he is alongside Alternity Thundercracker and the Earthrise Thundercracker. So obviously nowhere near as tall, nowhere near as expensive as this Thundercracker is, but I think both of them can still hold their own on a collection. And again, I'll say this Thundercracker's paint doesn't even begin to touch Alternity Thundercracker's electric blue paint. So that's all of our size comparisons. What about accessories? Well, alongside the null rays, you do get a couple of blast effects, that being these guys here. They look fine, nothing too out of the ordinary. So we can, extend the arm, just put it at the end of the null ray. It fits well. I don't think I would ever display him with this on. At the same time, if you were inclined, it's a decent little blast effect. You might be able to find some other guns it can fit onto, so hey, kind of cool that they're here. You also have these guys. So this is more for vehicle mode, but it's going to replace the null ray nozzle. You were going to, one sec. Let me actually figure this out, get him out of, it's stuck in his arm. Okay, there we go. I forgot that there was a hinge here. So this is supposed to come off, there we go. And then we put this bit, well, that's not how that works at all, is it? Here, give me a second. I actually don't know where this is supposed to go. Alright, so I figured this out, right? This comes off, but this middle piece is supposed to stay on. But I tried pulling it out, it won't go. Same thing goes with the other null ray. I don't know, it's not paint stuck. I don't know if maybe it might be glued in or what, but I can't get it out. I'm worried about breaking the gun. what would happen is I would put this here, and that would be for vehicle mode to make it look more like a missile as opposed to the big, dumb, seeker gun. Fact of the matter is, I don't really care about changing the gun for vehicle mode. I don't want to risk breaking this gun just to put a missile pod on that I'm only ever going to put on this once for the review. Just know it would go right here. Hopefully you wouldn't have this issue with your guy. It looks like it might just be a freak occurrence with me. And yeah, a shame, but it doesn't really bother me that much because I was never going to use it anyway, Okay, so the guns were kind of duds, but we do have one more accessory, that being the alternate head and faceplates. We're going to go through all of them just so you can see, but yeah, I will say now, most of these are not that great. So this is the head currently on Thundercracker. Now, it does make the head look more proportionate with the body. That said, the face is very, very small and recessed. It gives him a very big forehead. From a distance, it looks fine, but in all honesty, I don't like how it looks up close. And I'd rather have a bit of a pinhead Thundercracker than a Seeker that looks like, well, this. That's not to say there aren't things to like about this more redone head. For one, you have ears that slide in and out for transformation. Both heads have that. Alongside that, I do like the face inside it. Yeah, it's supposed to be a generic emotionless face, but because of that, it kind of has every emotion. That said, this figure does have one really big issue for me when it comes to a figure with multiple faces. If we flip it around to the back, yeah, that's a screw. The head does not come off that ball joint without you taking that screw out, and you can't switch out the faces without taking that screw out. Same thing goes with the other older head. Hey guys, this is Ron Bondajon way off in the future, and I just wanted to say I got something very wrong about the faces. So, I had the head off the ball joint, right? So that's all well and good. I thought it was dug in there just because of my own poor eyesight, but no. You get underneath the chin, and you pull the face off like that, nice and easy. You can do it when the ball joint is actually in the head, when he's actually up here on the neck as he should be, but it's a lot easier to take the head off first. I didn't think to do that, and thus I didn't discover it was easier. So now, why don't we pull back out that face I really liked. Oop, here, I'm pulling that back over. So, this kind of big open grin almost looks like he's calling someone a nerd. And then what you're going to do is just, you got to kind of ease it in, but it will go in. There we go. And boom, we now have Thundercracker with the face I really want. Let me zoom in. And it was nice and easy. It was just me having misread the instruction manual. I thought it was calling for a screwdriver. I was very wrong there. So just know that that was my bad. But now that I got the, here, you do kind of have to wrestle to get this face on, I will say. So it's still not the easiest thing in the world, but it's a lot better than I thought it was. I got it on now. We'll pop it on the head. Come on. Come on. There we go. And that's really like my biggest complaint with Thundercracker sorted. So yeah, back to the proper review. This looks like maybe like he's about to get shot. It looks a lot like Starscream, and he's like, Galvatron? Is that you? Or, well, he said Megatron, but still. So, yeah, I'm not big on this, though. It has a lot of dull surprise energy. The other faces we have to work with are this very, very happy face. Kind of reminds me of, like, Skybound Starscream. This kind of smug, sneering face. And then just an outright smirk that looks a bit angry. I think this is the face I'm going to use on my Thundercracker, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that one out. So putting the older head on there. There we go. Yeah, I like that so much more. Smaller head, yes, but it actually has the proportions you'd want out of a Seeker helmet. Granted, Thundercracker now looks very surprised by something, but I do think it's for the betterment of the figure. It makes his proportions look a little bit stronger to my eye. Yes, the head is smaller. I can understand people who say the head is now too small, but I don't like this. I don't like the big, angry gob that this head was. The more you mess with this robot mode, the less it holds up to scrutiny. Yes, the materials here are impressive. A lot of die-cast metal and great feeling plastic. But the articulation is dated by most modern Masterpiece standards. Things like transformation space, Mastermind Creations, official Hasbro Takara, they have made much more articulated bots, not just since then, but even at the same time this Seeker would have come out. Alongside that, the proportions, though I personally enjoy them, are also very much antiquated in a modern Masterpiece collection from everything I can see. There's small annoyances here. For instance, the fingers are articulated, but the hands are not. The issues with the face swapping are a real headache, especially today when we have so many figures that do that same thing, but easier. Look at my Mastermind Creations Eris Lunikite for an example of how you do that gimmick right. There are a lot of factors here that remind me of old third party, complicated third party. Let's cross our fingers and hope that everything's going to fit in the end third party. It would have been impressive for the time it came out, but keep in mind this body came out around about 10 years ago, and currently there's better Seekers on the market. I think it says a lot that the reason I got this Thundercracker is because he was on such heavy discount alongside all the other Seekers. So, with all that in mind, let's now engage with transformation and jet mode, because for a lot of people that's supposedly what still saves this figure. I would agree on some level that this was the best transformation that a Masterpiece Seeker has ever had. That said, it is very much damning with faint praise to say that. This wasn't a great transformation. So much of it was clever. There were so many points where I was like, oh my god, so you do this or you do that, that's such a great idea. But then it's held back by small things, tolerances, clearances, the fact that these fins feel paper thin and I was honestly worried I was going to break them just trying to move them to their positions. Things like the cockpit and the torso are brilliantly engineered. But then the wings are so annoying to tag into place. You can see I got a lot of gaps in my guy. I don't know how to fix that. I've been trying to do it for a while now, but nothing seems to come together. Things like the articulated fists can be a real hassle to get into their position. And even though there is a lot to like here, and trust me, there is so much to like here, it doesn't ultimately give you a very satisfying transformation, and your jet mode's going to look a little bit gross, to be honest with you. It's still Thundercracker blue and red, so there's only so bad it can possibly look, but it's not exactly the masterpiece experience I'd want out of a jet. At the same time, given the competition, Deformation Space, both the official ones, I don't think that experience exists yet at all. That said, I do think Maketoys was trying to make something work here. They do include a flight stand that works really well. And if I had an entire squadron of Seekers, I think it would be kind of cool to have them all on these stands. That flight stand, by the way, holds another secret. Here, let me get this guy off. Boop. If you look underneath, you can see that's where you store things like the extra faces and the blast effects. Not a place to put the extra head, but, you know, that's cool. It's nice. It's a good option. So many parts of this figure are great. There's so many good ideas, so many great accessories, so many good calls from the design standpoint. It's just the fit and finish isn't exactly there for me, and it's been outdone by figures since. I would honestly say this might be one of the rougher masterpieces in my entire collection, the small though it may be. I mean, granted, I'm comparing it to some of the best figures of all time, Masterpiece Soundwave, Ocular Max Azalea, the Eris Lunikite, but even Fans Hobby Scourge, I think, is a better figure. An MPO1, yeah, it might be rougher, but it was the first masterpiece ever. And this guy, this is after the experiment has already proven successful. This is after this design philosophy has already taken pretty solid root. Getting Thundercracker back into robot mode, and I actually made a couple of discoveries. I don't know if joints got loosened during the transformation or what happened, but now I can see he does have a wrist swivel, and he has an upper arm cut. Things I didn't think he had before. Let me see if we put the gun in, right? Because it's possible maybe the gun was getting in the way. Oop, come on. Oop. Yeah, that's what was happening. So I think it was a combination of the joint was paint stuck and the gun was getting in the way. But now, yeah, upper arm cuts. That's great. Hey, that's one less thing to complain about on this guy, right? So let me get both the null rays back in. Check again. Yeah. All right. No, it's working great now. Awesome. When I look at Masterpiece Thundercracker, I have a couple of different thoughts. I remember all the videos where people said that this was essentially one of the best Masterpiece figures ever, and to this day people do hold this guy in very high regard. I'm not a Masterpiece collector. I make mine generations. I love the mainline and the LA design team. Masterpiece just never has been what drew me to collecting. If I was a Masterpiece collector, maybe I could have a greater appreciation of this figure. Maybe I could see all the eccentricities that I can't possibly fathom right now. But personally, yeah, I think he is just a touch bloated as a figure. And ultimately, I'm glad I got him on sale. I think that the sheer size and materials here do warrant the $100. I think the robot mode is nice enough to warrant the $100. I don't think the jet mode warrants it, though. I don't think the transformation does either. I think Maketoys is a very creative company, and this figure shows that creativity, but it doesn't really show how solid that company can be either. That said, because I'm a dummy, well, I was so convinced I'd like this guy that I already got my second copy. Oh, it gets better. I got the third copy, too. Needless to say, I don't think I'm going to begin the Starscream because, hey, I have a trio now, and it's my trio of favorite Seekers. I don't regret these purchases. I got them all on sale. I like all these characters. But I also wouldn't say that they're the best Masterpiece experience I've ever had.